Okay, so today we're going to talk about genetics, and our focus question is going to be, how does DNA code for the information we need to create life? So, traits. For every trait you exhibit, you carry two different alleles. So, an example of a trait would be eye color, hair color, eye shape, or sex. One allele comes from each parent, which is why you have two. Alleles are just different forms of genes. So you might carry a allele for brown eyes and you might carry one for blue eyes, but you would exhibit the brown eye allele. So brown eyes would obviously be a dominant, which we denote with capital letters, and then blue eyes would be considered a recessive, which we usually use lowercase letters to represent. So a few more different things you guys need to know about traits is that there's something called a genotype, and your genotype is your genetic makeup. So this is whether or not you're big B, little b, or big B, or little b. It's what your actual genetics look like. And then the second one that I want you to know is called phenotype, and phenotype is strictly talking about your physical appearance. So phenotype, physical appearance. Heterozygous means that you have two different alleles. So this would mean that you might carry a dominant and a recessive allele, so you would then be considered a heterozygous individual. And if you're considered homozygous, you carry two of the same alleles. So you're either carrying two dominant or you're carrying two recessive. So let's look a little more closely at genotype and phenotype. So like we said, genotype is this genetic makeup. So when we talk about genotype, we're talking about these right here, these letters. And phenotype is the physical appearance. And when we're talking about phenotype, we're talking about the actual eye color, which in this one would be blue or brown. So zygosity. So homozygous, like you said, is either two of the same, either both dominant or both recessive. When we talk about homozygous, we're talking about those are reversed. Any two that are the same. So you'll notice on the bottom we have two different possibilities of offspring being blue-eyed, and they are homozygous recessive. So heterozygous is two different alleles, and the phenotype is always going to be that of the dominant trait. So you see this arrow going here, and it has two different alleles coding for eye color, because every time that you have you always carry two alleles that code for the same trait. So let's do an example. If blonde hair is recessive, the allele would be little b. And if brunette hair is dominant, the allele would be big B. What would the genotype be for someone that has blonde hair then? It would be little b, because in order to exhibit that trait, none of the brunette allele can actually be present. So what could the genotypes be for someone with brunette hair then? So in order to have brunette hair, you would either have to have big B, or big B, little b. So you'd either need to be homozygous dominant or heterozygous in order to exhibit brunette hair. So just one last reminder, if one allele is dominant, that will always determine the phenotype of the individual, and that is the physical appearance. Alright guys, that's all for today. Have a good rest of the science class.